What happened to these people is enough to give the average person nightmares. They're all victims of parasites, creepy, crawly creatures that burrowed into their bodies and wreaked havoc. A day at the beach started out fun for 17-year-old Michael Dumas, but it didn't end that way. He smiled as his friends playfully buried him in the sand on Pompano Beach in Florida. At the same time, hookworms were burying themselves in Michael's feet. He developed painful sores that became infected. Dermatologist Dr. Doris Day gives us an idea of how this could happen.
If you're walking on the beach, you're barefoot, you're walking and you get caught on a seashell, and that can leave an opportunity for the hookworm to get into the skin.
A parasite blinded a Colorado woman in one eye when she went for a swim.
That parasite destroyed my life for about a year and a half. It attaches to your cornea. It causes blindness very quickly. I lost all sight in my eye.
Stacy Peoples says she contracted acanthamoeba keratitis while swimming in a local pool with her contact lenses in. The CDC says contacts can cause abrasions in the eye that give the parasite a way in. Her eye turned bright red and felt worse than it looked.
The pain was excruciating. It felt like rubber bands being snapped in my eye. I had light sensitivity. I had to stay in a dark room. I couldn't drive. I couldn't work.
Stacy is now able to see again after having had a cornea transplant. A New York woman thought she had a brain tumor, but it was actually a tapeworm. Rachel Palma knew something was wrong when she started having hallucinations and forgetting words. Brain scans showed it wasn't a tumor, but it was something. She had surgery at Mount Sinai Hospital in New York City. Surgeons had to be careful not to damage any part of her brain while removing it. When they finally got it out, it was an egg, which sprouted a baby tapeworm.
The egg itself was located in a part of Miss Palma's brain that was very, very close to the areas of her brain that control speech and the ability to coordinate movements.
As scary as the ordeal was, Rachel says she's relieved that it's gone and that it wasn't cancer. This 5-foot-long tapeworm was removed from a patient in California who pulled it out of himself and took it to the hospital. Dr. Kenny Bond treated the patient who thought his intestines were coming out of his body.
Big long string kind of came out and he pulls it out from his bottom and it keeps coming and coming. And he's like, oh my goodness, and he thinks he's got this really long piece of bowel that's like just basically falling off of him, like pieces are just falling out of him. But then when he pulls it out, it starts wriggling in his hand.
When Dr. Bond looked at what the patient pulled out of himself, he knew immediately it was a tapeworm. They measured it together and were stunned at its length. The doctor says the patient probably got it from eating sushi, and he was given deworming medication. Parasites are unfortunately a common diagnosis. Animal Planet did a whole series on extreme cases called Monsters Inside Me, featuring this story about a girl who was infested while on vacation in Colombia.
When I shined the light on her head, I was really surprised. I noticed around 20 little bumps. I thought that Brianna had sun poisoning earlier, but in my gut, I felt like there was something more going on.
The family rushed back home to New York. The whole time she was bleeding and in pain. Brianna was immediately taken to the doctor.
I saw these little shallow, almost like erosions. But when I looked at them closely, all of a sudden, they moved up and down like that. I was maybe 2 inches from her scalp, and this was the sound that I heard. And that's when it was like, okay, something is very wrong here.
Brianna was found to have screwworms, a type of parasitic fly. Its larvae feed on the tissue of warm-blooded animals. All of these people survive their encounters with parasites, as most patients do. But until they're gone from the host body, they're the guests nobody wants. For InsideEdition.com, I'm Mara Montalbano.